Welcome to Barbara's Bulletin, the podcast where we bring you the latest news and updates from around the world. I'm your host, Barbara, and I'm glad you're joining us today. We're starting off with a major development in international diplomacy. The conflict between Ukraine and Russia has been ongoing for years, and now, U.S. President Donald Trump is attempting to broker a peace deal. But how will his efforts be received by the two nations involved? According to recent reports, President Trump met with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Alaska earlier this month with the goal of finding a resolution to the conflict. However, despite both leaders claiming the talks were successful, a peace deal has yet to be reached. To help us understand how Ukraine and Russia will view Trump's attempts to broker a peace deal, let's take a look at some of the latest news on the ground. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has repeatedly called for an unconditional ceasefire, while Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov says that Putin is ready to meet with Zelensky only when the agenda is ready for a summit. Meanwhile, Canada's Prime Minister Mark Carney arrived in Kyiv on Sunday to meet with President Zelensky, and Norway announced that it will contribute around $693 million worth of air defense systems to Ukraine. The UK government also confirmed that British military experts will continue to train Ukrainian soldiers until at least the end of 2026. It's clear that the international community is invested in finding a resolution to this conflict, but the path forward remains uncertain. As President Trump considers his next move, whether it's imposing further economic sanctions on Russia or walking away from peace talks, one thing is certain: the situation in Ukraine will continue to be closely watched by the world. We'll be keeping a close eye on developments in Ukraine and Russia, and we'll bring you updates as more information becomes available. For now, it's a complex and delicate situation, with no easy solutions in sight. We'll be right back with more of today's top news on Barbara's Bulletin. Welcome back to Barbara's Bulletin. We're continuing our coverage of global news, and now we're shifting our focus to Africa, where a significant development has unfolded in Nigeria. The Nigerian Air Force has successfully rescued 76 kidnap victims, including women and children, after conducting a precision airstrike on a bandit stronghold in northwest Katsina State. According to authorities, the operation targeted Powahil in Kankara local government area as part of a manhunt for a gang leader named Babaro, who has been linked to a recent mosque attack in the town of Malumfashi. Unfortunately, one child died during the rescue, but it's not clear if there were any other casualties among the kidnapped victims or the gang members. This airstrike could mark a crucial breakthrough in efforts to dismantle criminal networks in northwest Nigeria, where armed gangs have terrorized rural communities for years. The Nigerian military has been working to contain numerous conflicts across the West African state, including battles against jihadist groups, violent criminal gangs, sectarian conflict, and widespread kidnappings for ransom. In a related development, the Nigerian military reported that it had killed 35 jihadists in a series of airstrikes near its northeastern border with Cameroon. The strikes were carried out to thwart an attempt by the jihadists to attack ground troops. This comes as Nigeria has been battling jihadist groups for over a decade, with groups like Boko Haram and the Islamic State West Africa Province, ISWAP, posing significant threats in the northeast. The situation in Nigeria is complex, with many different conflicts and challenges intersecting. A recent report by Amnesty International stated that at least 10,217 people had been killed since President Bola Tinubu took office 2 years ago. This has led to calls for the formation of a presidential task force with wide-ranging powers to address these numerous conflicts. The United Nations estimates that more than 35,000 people have been killed and 2 million displaced in the conflict. The Institute for Security Studies think tank has also reported that at least 15 jihadist attacks had been recorded so far this year in areas near Nigeria's border with Cameroon and Niger. As we continue to follow these developments, it's clear that the situation in Nigeria is dire and requires a comprehensive response from the government and international community. We will keep monitoring the situation and providing updates as more information becomes available. Stay tuned for our final story of the day, right here on Barbaros Bulletin. Welcome back to Barbaros Bulletin. We've got a fascinating story to wrap up today's show, and it's all about the latest developments in international relations and diplomacy. As we've been following the news, South Korean President Lee Jae-myung has been making headlines with his recent meetings and agreements with world leaders. According to reports, President Lee is set to meet with President Donald Trump at the White House, and he's coming bearing gifts, or rather, a proposal that's sure to please Trump. The South Korean government has promised to support American shipbuilding, with a nod to Trump's "Make America Great Again" slogan. This move is seen as an attempt to strengthen ties between the two nations and boost cooperation in the maritime industry. But that's not all. We've also got updates on the situation in Ukraine, where the country is marking 34 years of independence amidst ongoing conflict with Russia. We've seen powerful photos showcasing the nation's journey from student protests in 1990 to the present day, and it's a sobering reminder of the complexities and challenges faced by nations around the world. And in other news, North Korea has been making waves with its military activities, including the deployment of troops to Russia and the development of its nuclear-armed military. Experts are raising concerns about the potential for Moscow to provide technology that could strengthen Pyongyang's military capabilities. As we consider these developments, it's essential to approach the situation with a nuanced perspective, recognizing the complexities and competing interests at play. We must strive to be fair and balanced in our analysis, avoiding bias and sensationalism. That's all for today's Barbaros Bulletin. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and until next time, stay engaged.